Alright, so I'm going to tell you what I'm up to now. I am taking Natalie's messages between her and I that proved that we were friends at the point in time that I was staying behind where her sister worked, not Natalie, and this is in Virginia. It also shows that we were friends. It goes all the way up to, I want to say, the 20th or so of October in 2016. This is while I was visiting her in Virginia. It shows a lot of different stuff. Now, in setting these blocks aside in order to put them with my story and show them exactly where they go, there's a very important thing that I want to mention. Alright, so the day that I got to Virginia, I let Miss Natalie know that I was on my way to her house. And she let me know I couldn't go to her house because of what her mother thought. And I've got the messages before that, and I've got the messages after that. Not all of them, because they were on my flip phone that was stolen, and like I said, I still have thousands of screenshots yet to take. Most of our correspondence between Natalie and I at that point in time was on that flip phone. That was how we had been corresponding since we first started talking to each other. Now, this did create a little bit of an issue because my flip phone would only hold 250 messages at a time. Each message cost me 50 cents, so a lot of times when I was texting, I got into the habit of not putting words in like I, oh, you, we, they. A lot of this stuff at the beginning of a sentence. I had to try to shorten things and condense them as much as possible. And especially at the end of, it's a track phone, so there isn't a whole lot of minutes on it. And with each one costing half of a unit to send, it was actually cheaper for people to call me. This is where me and Veronica Randall had our issues as well. I needed her to call and listen to me, and she was under the assumption that my phone was not on. Well, I was obviously texting her on it. This is common sense, you would think, but that didn't enter her mind. So then, finally, after, I want to say about a week, I don't know exactly how many days, it might have been 4 days, it might have been 2 weeks, I don't know, but it was more than 1 day for certain. And by the point in time that she finally called me, by the point in time she finally realized that she could call me, like, I had been begging her to call me for a while. And when she finally did, I mean, it was after she had been accusational in texting and mean in texting and presumptuous in texting and just plain mean in texting. And I got mean back. I was like, you know what? Stop. Fucking stop. Just call me. Well, I thought your phone was off. Well, if my phone was off, then how could I text you? And that's probably what I should have said to begin with. Although, when I had called Veronica on several occasions, she had actually bitched me out because she's not supposed to receive calls at work. So that's why I did the texting thing, because she said she was allowed to do that. And that really sucked for me too. She said, just text me, and then I'll call you back when I get the chance. That was the agreement that we had. Now, this is all arbitrary, of course. Everything with Veronica. The fact is, the people who took that screenshot for all these little Natalie groups, they took that one little part to try to say that Natalie didn't want me to come there. Except that they missed all of our messages in Messenger, on Facebook, and they missed all of the messages on that phone, both before and after that screenshot. Both before and after that message. Now, the important part here is, just like the Bible, what these Christians did was paraphrase. They went and found one little part that they could try to twist and manipulate into something that it wasn't. There are hundreds of cases of this. And then there are people who are obviously just assholes who are getting on my YouTube, and I got screenshots of this on the computer that was stolen, of assholes getting on and then making all sorts of outrageous claims. I saw this and I saw that. And I'm like, you are a fucking wingnut. It probably isn't nice to call somebody a wingnut who's fucking a goddamn wingnut. But Cara Rogers is a fucking wingnut. Layla Johnson is a wingnut. When she made that thing about Cara Rogers, you can tell through the typographical errors and this, that, and the other that obviously Cara Rogers this isn't an actual wanted poster. This is something that Layla typed up. Also, there's a fake ID that Layla created. And those are things that they did to try to pretend like they were someone else. This is not acceptable. This is never okay. But also, I got lucky. Even though I hate texting, the fact is it's in some texts that I saved, and there's also the screenshots from Messenger on Facebook that I saved. Now, on the computer that I have now, I'm having difficulties figuring out how to take a screenshot and save it. There's a print screen button at the upper right hand corner of my computer, and I do press it, so there might be a whole bunch of screenshots that I have saved magically, but I just can't find them. Before Natalie died, I really only used the computer for YouTube and for Facebook and for video games. Although I was learning how to do Blender so that I could make stuff in 3D. It's a tough situation, but it's one that I am working hard on. I'll get it figured out. Now, the folks I'm staying with aren't going to be home for another few hours or so. And I got a shit ton of typing done today. I got a shit ton of typing done in the wrong place, though. However, I was able to figure out how to gain access to some of the stuff that I had not had previous access to, which is nice. Like most things, I stumbled across it on accident. This right here, though, this is Disco. Oh, fuck. I am familiar with Disco, like, as a gamer. However, I had to have Josh Hughes help set that up with me, because I had no fucking clue what I was doing. And this time around, at least I was able to get the vocal part started early enough that these folks could explain things to me. Now, the site that I'm on is Colorado Donkey Watch's, channel. But he also invited me to another couple of channels, which are pretty nice, and I created my own. The one that I created is PFBA, Punished for Being Autistic. So there's 2 people in there now, and that's not a lot. I don't know how to send stuff out, but part of the reason for that is because Colorado Donkey Watch, he's got a lot of trolls on his channel, and they're pretty well assholes, if I don't mind saying so myself. They're trolls. They're video game trolls. So, well, you know how those guys are. I was explaining to them my story, and they went and looked online, and then, they're trolling me with the stuff that's online and bullying me and basically being assholes. Trying to push me over the edge. That's what bullies do. One of them is, let me see if I can find any of these assholes online. I blocked a couple of them already. Here's Fishfart, P-H-I-S-H-P-H-A-R-T. He's an asshole. There's a guy named Max. He's an asshole. And then there's some guy named like Unicorn Farts or Unicorn something or other. Trying to find him on here. These guys are mostly cop watchers. They talk about the law and how the law is and how it's supposed to work and so on and so forth. And here's one named Nutcase. They're assholes. And then, let me see. Well, it looks like none of the assholes are online currently. That's nice. That's pretty. One of the assholes lives right here in Virginia. He's been threatening a couple of times. I hope he comes and visits me. But the point is, taken out of context, any one of you can be framed with your messages. Any one of you can be framed by using just one little joke. So you guys need to take screenshots of that. You never know when your phone will break, or when you'll drop it in the toilet, or when you'll lose it, or when somebody will steal it. Take those screenshots. Save them. That way if something fucked up happens, you got a record of it. I got lucky, but I also got really unlucky. All the thefts of my tools and equipment and all of the police pulling all of their bullshit, it's kind of overwhelming. Having an environment like I'm in right now, where I don't have to deal with the people who live here screaming and shouting at each other. I don't have to deal with them screaming at children. And mind you, the children screaming doesn't bother me. It's the adults being screamers that really creates an issue. A lot of times, like, children don't need to be screamed at for 20 minutes. Once you've yelled at them and told them to knock it off, and they knock it off, a 20-minute lecture isn't going to do anything but bore them to death and make them really want to do fucked up shit. And screaming at them the whole time probably is not a good way to save your voice. I know this because I do a lot of screaming. When it got to the point where these predators were doing whatever the hell they wanted and going out of their way to twist things into something that it's not, they really fucked up. Because they slandered my name. Not just slandered my name, but that slander resulted in a public opinion of me that will never go away. A public opinion that has resulted in people threatening, harassing, and stalking me. A public opinion that had police officers straight up breaking the law, going out of their way not to take a report, going out of their way to separate from me from people who are trying to help me, going out of their way to break the law to cover for officers who are breaking the law, going out of their way, in some instances, to pretend I said I was suicidal, because I spoke out about them, like Officer McRae and Officer Thorne in Arapahoe County Jail. These officers prevented me from doing a great many things by pulling bullshit like that, and they were involved in at least 6 other incidences in the jail that I needed to report on. Imagine that. You tell on an officer and they harass you and break the law on multiple occasions. Can you imagine that? Oh no, you guys think these people are fucking cupcakes, don't you? Well, alright, cupcake. And then there's the whole term snowflake. When somebody's having sensory processing issues, calling them a snowflake is not going to improve the situation. It just makes you look like an asshole. But you know what? You go ahead and be an asshole. I'm an asshole too. When I was younger, I was pretty much stuck in survival mode. Most of the time I was homeless, I was stuck in survival mode, but I also had good people around me. The difference between then and now is that if I had an issue then, I could just walk away. Now I have to try to preserve this evidence and carry it with me and try to find a safe place. And if that place is not safe and I have to move on, that creates a major issue for me because I have a fucked up back and I have to carry this shit. I have to find the money to travel on somewhere else. And you have no idea how shitty I feel about taking money from people, especially when what I needed was them to write a police report. And yes, I understand that I have recorded many people who said that the police would not take their report. I understand this. I know that you can go back through my YouTube, and the ones who didn't have it silenced, well, you can still go back and you can see those things. And you can listen to them telling me that the police wouldn't take their report. But they're not the only ones. There's also screenshots. And although there's a few times in my messages between me and Mandy Hughes where she also says the same thing, and the same thing with Alyssa Rainwater. Now, they both have different accounts, but both of them said that each one of them tried to go in 3 different times. So that's just 6 times right there where the police refused to take a report. Now, because I'm intelligent and well-mannered and I'm like this most of the time when I'm not under a severe amount of stress, people use that to pretend like I am faking it when I have a fucking meltdown, when I'm having a panic attack, when I'm fucking freaking out. And usually you can tell if I'm freaking out based on the amount of curse words that I use. If it's a major fucking issue, there's going to be a lot of goddamn curse words in that fucking bullshit. You catching what I'm pitching? Or are you paraphrasing? Now, because I was not allowed to go to court, the Bollingers and their cronies were allowed to paraphrase, and I wasn't allowed to show that it was out of context and they intentionally manipulated the situation and manipulated the judges and the police. Now, are the police at fault for this? Yes, they are. They should have looked at both sides. Instead, they looked at the paraphrasing and just made a really shitty fucking assumption. So, when people hate on me like they do on Colorado Donkey Watch's site, I understand that, yeah, they got to see paraphrasing. They got to see an opinion created by assholes who hated me and assumed that I killed her. And that protection order really was bullshit. If I'd have showed the judge in that case what Natalie and her friends were up to, Natalie probably would have gone to jail. If not prison. Tim Beeson probably would have gone to prison. But because I'm not like that all the time. Like I said, it's environmental. Because I'm not like that all the time, people want to pretend that I'm faking. That's the problem with sensory processing issues. Right now, there's nobody creating noises. There's no semis driving by. There's not a bunch of extraneous noise. And by noise, it's not always sound. Sometimes it's people walking by. Sometimes it's a whole bunch of people in shirts who are all wearing different colored shirts and they're all going different directions. Sometimes sensory overload can actually come from taste. A lot of people who are autistic, they have difficulties with texture. I don't really have that issue. I'm sure that there's stuff that, tastes like cold snot that I'm probably not going to be able to stomach that well. But I don't have the issue that many people who are autistic have with that. I also even though there are 10,000 things that I need to write down, and I only have one night currently alone to do this on, I'm a lot more calm because I can leave if I need to take a walk. I can walk right out that door and walk right down the street and be fine and dandy about it. There's no paraphrasing involved in walking. If I need to go to the bathroom, I can go right around the corner here and use the bathroom. If I need to calm down a bit, I can go in and watch a YouTube video. And although that doesn't work as well as video games, because video games allow me to immerse myself, and then I feel more refreshed when I'm done playing the video games, like I was able to get my mind off of something. But the problem since I left Lana and Amanda Ingelines is that playing video games makes me feel like I must be doing something bad. It's a tool that helps me to calm down, and because of the way that Lana and Amanda treated me over it, it really makes me feel bad doing it. But then again, I don't think that there's any chance that Amanda feels bad about watching TV, which is what her downtime is. All these places where I was at with these people screaming, it takes a while for me to calm down from them screaming. And in some of those cases, the screaming was so severe that I just ended up screaming on YouTube videos because, I absorb my environment. That's a lot of what autism is. You are absorbing everything in your environment. I don't mean like, as in you're on acid and you touch it and you think that you're melting into it. I mean that you're bringing in all of the stimuli around you and you're processing all of it. I'm going to pause this video for a minute. Alright, I think it's working again. One of the main things that I have to say about sensory processing issues is that there's also the fear factor. Me, I was traumatized as a child because I was put through the system, timeout rooms and the like. Well, when you go to a hospital, a lot of those places, they put you in the same thing. You're in a lockup. You're locked in that room. You can't leave. You can't go anywhere, even if it's voluntary. And that's not okay. They tried to put me on a hold the other day. I did the intelligent thing and I walked right out of the hospital. I also lied. The security guard walked up to me and he said, "Are you from the emergency room?" I said, "No. I don't work in the emergency room." And that's honestly what I thought he was asking, but I was dressed in this, So, then he says to me, "Did you see a guy walking on the other side of the building?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Do you have a beard?" I said, "Yeah." He was walking towards the highway. Was that a lie? No. But when I thought about it, as I was walking away, I was like, all right, hold on a second. I just walked out of the emergency room. And around the building, on the side that he was asking me, they're looking for me. I was there on a voluntary hold. I went outside to have a cigarette. That's when I decided, you know what? This is some bullshit. If they're sending security out to find me, I'm fucking out of here. This is not voluntary anything. It's the same thing they tried pulling at the Avista hospital. Fuck that place. Avista is where they sent me right after I tried to commit suicide. And they transferred me from Avista after drugging me and tackling me to the floor. Well, actually, it was the opposite of that. They tackled me to the floor. They said I was there voluntarily. I said, well, then I'm leaving voluntarily. And they tackled me to the floor, and they injected me with their drugs. Well, that's where I lost any sense of reality. I was really just stuck in a yellow zone. I found out later that one of the drugs they injected into me was ketamine, and another one was Haldol. This is some pretty fucked up shit. Now, I don't know what you guys think about that situation, but at that point in time, I was pissed off because I'd been trying to get an investigator or a police officer there to take a report about all the threats. I get tired of hearing officers make excuses. But here I had security guards in a Vista hospital who were doing the same shit. They're telling me, first of all, they took my phone and said that it's illegal for me to dial 911 from a hospital. And then they locked it up along with my evidence bag, that evidence bag that I had been trying to show. I'd been trying to show the police that bag of evidence and show them what the hell was going on and try to get the fucking bullshit to stop. When a disabled person is trying to let you know that they're being abused, just like before Natalie died, those officers should have done their fucking jobs. Every single officer that I tried to show that shit to refused to take a look at it. Every public pretender that I had refused to take a look at it. Not even one of my friends sat down to look at what was in that bag. I was at Shannon Alvarado's for 2 months. Now, let's say she whined at me an average of 4 hours a night. And it was probably more than that because it was at least 4 hours a night, so that would be a minimum. But let's say 4 hours a night. Now let's say she had taken one night out of every week. And instead of that 4 hours focusing on just her, let's say she spent 2 of those hours helping me. Now over a 2-month period, let's say we did it every Saturday, and over a 2-month period, 2 hours per weekend, 8 times 2 is what, 16 hours? That would have been 16 hours worth of help. And this would have been a lot more help than what I got out of her. Also, listening to her for that much and that long and that often, along with her screaming, yeah, she accepts that part of me because that's what she does. She accepts that I'm going to scream and I'm going to talk a lot. And, you know, when I'm fucking stressed out, I'm trying my best and my darndest basically not to jump off a fucking bridge or bash my head on a wall or step in front of a train. When I'm screaming, I am super stressed out. It's the difference between having hope and not having hope. When I'm talking nicely and calmly, that's when I believe there's hope. I might get an honest day in court and these predators might be put away. When I'm screaming and freaking out, I'm in an environment where I'm hearing screaming and freaking out a lot. Having 2 days now without constant, well, not 2 days because I was at the hospital when they left, or right after they left, but 2 days of not having to hear that screaming, not having to hear all of that meanness, not having to other things I don't want to mention currently. It's a lot more calming and relaxing environment. And the only thing that I'm really worried about is them being pissed off that I drank all of this stuff. Not all of it. There wasn't very much. It was probably about the area where it says antioxidants. But that's probably 2 glasses worth. Well, there's no way because I mixed it with the 7-Up and it was only about a glass, but that's neither here nor there, I guess. When it comes to paraphrasing, it's something that's easy to do. It's something that's easy to twist and contort what other people said just by omitting the first part or the last part. And that's what these Natalie Bollinger groups ended up getting to see. Hateful people looking for just little bits and pieces that they could take out of context. And then all these other people see that and they're like, oh, well, she said not to go there. No, we planned the trip. I actually made it there. She was aware that I was on my way. It was just a matter of her mother's opinion that she was scared of. The very same thing that happened when I left. She was scared of her mother's opinion. You shouldn't care what other people think, right? I hear that a lot. I really do. Natalie shouldn't care about anyone's opinion either, should she? I do care about people's opinions. I care about Peach's opinion. I do. I care about Mandy Hughes' opinion. I even still care about Amanda Payne's opinion, and she did some fucked up shit because she was on drugs. I also care about Molly Smith's opinion, and I'm hoping that since, I want to say 3 days ago, I was able to get my Google account to sync with this phone, and now I have a bunch of phone numbers that I didn't previously have. I'm hoping one of those numbers is Molly Smith. She's got a flash drive, a couple of flash drives that are full of information that was stolen. They didn't steal it. That information I no longer have access to except on those flash drives. Miss Peaches also has a copy. There's one other person with a copy, I just can't remember who at the moment. And then there's Steve Tombleson. He actually went in with me to court, and well, that was a pretty fucked up situation too. You get to hear him talking about how I did indeed try to show that bag to Zoe Tanner, and Zoe Tanner wouldn't look. He said more than a couple of times. So, yeah. When I'm saying that these public pretenders would not do their jobs, they would not do their jobs. Not one. And the problem with Zoe Tanner is I couldn't even get a hold of her. You can only call public pretenders from the jail phones, and you can't call public pretenders from other states. Pamela Cardi was my public pretender in Arapahoe County, and she was supposed to do something about those things, but she was lazy. Now, I've spoken with a lawyer about that, and that lawyer told me that since Pamela Cardi did not do that, and she made no attempt or efforts to do that, that she's the one who is liable. Imagine that. Pamela Cardi, my public pretender, is the one who is liable for me having warrants out from my arrest for court dates I wasn't allowed to go to because I was in jail. It is the job of my public pretender and the courts to inform the other courts, and I did inform her of the other courts and my other court dates and who my public pretenders were. But she made zero effort to do anything about that. Now, when I lit that fire at Ken and Leah's and threatened the president, I didn't have the money to go to all of my court dates. There was no way that I was going to have the money to go to those places and do those things. Also, I made it down to Colorado specifically with the intent of killing myself. Lighting that fire and threatening the President of the United States was kind of a last minute winging it thing. I want to live, it's just that this isn't a life.